back for another live stream. I hope you're all doing wonderful. We have Dennis back in the chair, and we have someone new. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Andreas. I'm senior game designer on Hunt. I joined Crytek about 2 years ago, and first was part of the VR team. So we did the client and Robinson. And as we merged the team in March, since then I'm part of the Hunt team.
How does it feel?
Really great. Really great. I like this game.
Secretly crying. No, but today we're going to talk about something that you guys have been asking to know more about for quite some time, actually, the progression and ranking. So that's what we're going to dive in today. And what are we going to see? What are we going to talk about?
We're going to talk about progression today a little bit. So it's basically the whole meta game. I mean, so far we've been focusing a lot about talking about the mission, which has been, to be fair, also our focus, making a great, cool mission to enjoy. But there's always this game around the game, right? The meta game. And today we're going to talk a little bit about what that actually means for Hunt. So what type of system do we use? What do we have? How does it work out? What will you do? So yeah, that's basically how we start. And basically the first thing maybe is to talk about what purpose does such a meta game actually serve. And for us, I mean, there's multiple things, obviously, but it's there for progression, so that you have a sense of new features you can unlock, new content you can explore, and exactly. But it also serves an important point because it is a great way to onboard, to basically tutorialize things, because you don't get overwhelmed with all the features at the same time. But it's kind of a way to in piecemeal give you new features, new things to try out, and so it's important to get that part right, because it helps you to ease into the game, understand what you need to do, and I mean the meta game that we have designed is a very traditional meta game. It's a very traditional proven system. It's basically a rank-based game. So the main economy we have is around XP. You acquire XP that progresses you. At one point you get a new rank. That rank might include maybe a new weapon you unlock in the shop. We talk about all of that a little bit more in detail in a second. But the main thing is basically it's a traditional linear thing. You always know what's ahead of you. There's no randomization or anything in that. It's a very basic, good, proven, solid metagame system. Yes.
Okay.
The focus for us is always just that players enjoy the mission, and the metagame is the wrapper to make this a nice experience overall.
Exactly. And I'm actually curious because we have the leveling up in leveling up. Is that also traditional or not?
That's where we a little bit different. That comes from the nature that basically we are a game that has permadeath. So you lose things, and as such we need to deal with that aspect during progression. So we have basically a system that has two cornerstones. On one hand we have the hunter progression, so of the current character you are playing with, how he progresses, how well he's doing, because obviously he's valuable for you. And on the other hand, we have your bloodline. Bloodline is basically your overarching project, profile. This is basically where you recruit all of your hunters into, and it's basically a governance system on top of that thing. So what you can do in the bloodline, for example, is make sure that you recruit not only new hunters, but also manage what type of equipment you want to give to them, and you choose the right hunter for the right mission. So you might have a specialist, like a sniper, for example, or some close combat guy with different equipment, and maybe for a particular mission you want to bring one or the other. The bloodline helps you to govern that. And on top of that, obviously, it gives you this long-term motivation as you unlock additional things in your shop in a way. Only 2 more levels and I can buy the double-barrel shotgun, right? That sort of stuff you can do in the bloodline.
Okay, awesome. Do we want to take a look at the pictures that you guys?
Yes, we can basically have a look at our meta loop as a whole. Rick, if you would like to add that quickly in, yay. It's basically just in a nutshell again what we talked about. Hunt is all about going on contracts. It's basically you go out into the swamps of Louisiana to hunt down these monsters, these key monsters, and try to return the bounty basically and turn it into profit. You're a bounty hunter, and as such, there's always other bounty hunters, which means you can compete with them against it. So it's always comes down to be on top of the game and make sure that you bring down the bounty and bring it home rather than the enemy.
Home.
Yep, that would be a nice boon, right? The way it works is you recruit a hunter, and recruiting a hunter means you get a number of presets. We're going to show you a couple pictures in a couple minutes on that, how it all works out. And you have a choice between 4 different hunters. You can also reshuffle in order to get additional options. And they come with like some predefined equipment, predefined skills and stuff like that. And then later on, you can still modify them further by just buying weapons, equipping them, and as you then select your appropriate mission, let's say you equip yourself for the spider hunt, like our all-time favorite was. The spider is a fast enemy, and like it's very agile. So you want to bring weapons and equipment ideally that kind of like counters that. So like shotgun, for example, is good, like area damage, or like concertina bomb, like which kind of denies certain areas. But you might not necessarily want to bring like a slow-firing weapon where like if you miss that one shot because it's been just a bit too fast, then you can't kind of quickly respond to it.
Then I'm curious because you mentioned that you want to have like different characters that are good for different things. Would you expect that you would build a character specifically for certain boss fights where you have the traits that also match that boss fight?
Yes. Andres, you want to say?
Yeah, so we allow you to recruit 1 hunter out of 4. So at the first time you start the game, you will need to recruit a hunter. There's no way around it. So we will present you 4 hunters to that. And by your choice, so you can compare them, see what type of gear they have, what equipment, if they come with traits or not, how many health they have. And then you can choose the one who fits you most and also compare with your team partner if you have one. Because we have we want to
like a co-op game.
Yes,
it's super important to coordinate.
Yeah.
Like if you don't do that,
Pre-planning.
you're dead.
So you have to compare with the hunters you have, talk to your team partner, see okay what type do you use, what boss do we want to hunt, and then you select the one you want to use. And basically you start the game, and this is common to other games. You fulfill actions. For every action you get a XP reward or money reward, and if you manage to survive the mission, you level up in a certain way, and then you can assign your hunter points that you receive with each level up, and so you can upgrade your hunter in different ways.
The whole thing turns into a loop basically.
Yes.
So obviously we have permadeath in the game. And permadeath means at one point that loop is over because you perished. Very often in a very brutal, gruesome way. Now, in order to make that a not frustrating experience, because I mean, obviously we want to make sure that people come back and they can play and they have a good time, but they still have that sense of that fear of loss, you know, like that there's something at stake because people play very differently if there's something to lose.
Yeah,
and
no, definitely.
Obviously, it shouldn't be like that. You spend like 3 weeks on a progression of a hunter and then he just dies. So that's why our lifespans of hunters usually is much shorter. Yes. There isn't that strong connection like in a role-playing game where you can build up a character over hundreds of hours and make him really yours. The hunters are disposable in a way, but they are also still meaningful, important tools for you, because they kind of get the job done in the end.
Yeah, I think for us it's also because we've been playtesting it, so at the moment it doesn't matter for us if it dies, but I think because it still very often happens that you die, so I'm like, oh, this is going to be something I really have to watch, because it's going to be over really fast. I know.
The moment you put a pack of chocolate on the table and say like, you can keep it if you survive that mission, like the playtests are very different.
Yeah, then I'll do the best. No, definitely curious to see how that works out, because like that's such a difference from how we've been playing with the playtest, because you're like...
Yeah. And it's what large parts of the excitement kind of is based around. It's like this whole sense of... It's basically this being in one hand in giving you the feeling of a survival game, like this fear of loss, the sense of threat all around you, like always be tiptoe. Should I really cross that field? Otherwise that headshot might just take away the last couple of hours of progression on that particular hunter. I need to buy the gear again. I need to recruit a new one. I need to train him up again. So that's super important for us. What you can maybe do is have a quick look also at that screen again, because what it basically also shows is just not only the selecting the mission, but it also shows you a little bit what type of rewards we're getting. So for the most part, the missions are around collecting bounty. Like that's why you go in. Like you're not going in to kill other players. You can do that perfectly fine, but it's not the main drive. The main drive is returning with a bounty after having killed the monster or taking it from someone who killed the monster for you, which is a valid tactic. Now, as you come out, you will basically have that bounty be converted, and I'm going to show that a little bit later, into XP on one hand, so it kind of drives your progression, which is super important. On the other hand, it gives you like this money reward. So you get like hard dollars basically of the Wild West. Yeah, exactly. And you can go into the shop basically and then equip yourself with additional weapons to whatever level your bloodline already has unlocked them. Very traditional way. So there's no like outside currency or anything like that. So it's really just like the normal in-game currencies and whatever you earn in a mission. So the better you do, the more options you get. But we make sure with a permadeath system that it's more of a soft permadeath system. So it kind of softens things up a little bit, because even if you don't progress with a hunter, you always progress a little bit with a bloodline. So even if you fail 3 missions in a row, it might still mean you can rank up 1 more rank, depending on how we find and tune the balancing, etc. in the end.
But still, it will suck if you lose all your stuff.
Yep.
It's not great. And what other, because we get rewards, like we get XP from everything that you do. Do you also get some amount of cash from everything you do, or is it just XP?
It's just XP.
Okay.
Yeah, mainly it's XP, so all the AI grants you XP. Money you will get from first, of course, banishing the boss and collect the bounty. But also the clues provide you some money, which is granted to you no matter if you die or if you survive.
Yeah.
So as long as you collect 3 clues, you should have at least enough money to buy some additional stuff in the shop, or
that's good to know.
rearrange some health.
What could be interesting, maybe Rick, if you could load up that match structure overview, and we can talk a little bit about like the match structure in general. Many of you guys probably have seen it already as you followed the last streams. Just kind of nice to kind of recap a little bit how like a typical mission in Hunt actually plays out, to put like the whole things about like bounty tracking a bit more in context. So what we have at the moment is 3 phases inside each match. So as you kind of recruit the dude, you kind of kit him out, and then you choose your contract. That contract sends you into the mission instance, like randomly assorted with other players you don't know. One, obviously, if you brought a teammate, that one teammate you kind of have as a buddy to watch out for your back. Now, as you go in, the first part is that there is this huge 1 square kilometer map of Louisiana Bayou, and you have absolutely no idea where the boss is. So you have to have a tracking phase, basically. So you look out for clues in order to help you kind of pin down the location where the boss could be. All the teams, and you don't know how many of them there are, like maximum is 10 players, but kind of keep it as a secret for the players, like how many there are actually, and in case they got killed, etc. So they always build this mental map in your head, like what's happening around you. But on the way, everybody is trying to narrow down where could it be, where could the boss be this time. Maybe you stumble upon him in the first compound looking for a clue, or maybe you only find out after the 3rd clue, which is the maximum per boss chain, basically. So you will know for sure 100% where the boss is latest on the 3rd of the clues. Now, what Andres was saying is like each of these clues, they're like a step on the main path, right? And we reward the player that they can honor the contract. Even if they die, they still try to fulfill the contract. And that's why we reward them also with additional, like a bonus money reward after the mission, even if they die. So that kind of gives them a chance that as long as they follow the plan, they follow the tracks, even if they die, which most of them will do because deadly, they still have like something that comes out of it, even if it's basically just the next generation of hunters that benefits from it.
Just for the next generation, guys, it's fine.
Then the second phase we have is the takedown. So obviously after you found a target, you kind of like have the boss fight against them, hopefully without other teams interfering. So that comes down to how quickly you found them, how well you've protected your space. But the boss fight isn't really the center. Like the real showdown happens what comes after the boss has been killed, because you need to banish it. If you banish the boss, that sets off the timer that's kind of broadcast across the entire map. So everybody who is still alive at that point, they will know exactly where the boss just has been killed and is being banished. So it takes like, I think, around 90 seconds to 2 minutes to banish. And during that time, all the other teams, they kind of have a chance to kind of like flock towards that position, right? And kind of see if they want a risk taken from you. Obviously, you as the people in that barn, that boathouse or whatever, you have the advantage because you kind of own the space already. You are there first, which means you can kind of like keep an eye out for where they come, listen for like sound traps, like dogs barking, etc. Maybe they also just ambush you along the way. But the important part is you kind of have to wait it out until the banishing is complete before you can pick up your reward, your bounty, the token. And once you have that, then it's when the 3rd phase kicks off. which is you want to locate one of the randomly placed exits at the edge of the map and make a run for it. This is very close to a capture the flag experience in a way. You're the flag bearer. People will kind of see where you're moving towards, and they were trying to intercept you. Either they might have set an ambush, or maybe they're closely around, so you kind of have to leg it. And in case you make it out alive with a bounty, that's where the profit comes in.
Nice.
And
It kind of reminds me of the Radio Battlegrounds.
Oh yeah.
It's fun.
And to encourage the team play even more, every reward is shared between the team.
Yes.
So if I kill a grunt, you will get XP for it too.
Oh, interesting.
Same happens for clue or for the bounty. That's especially for the team extraction. So if we together as a team extract the bounty will be doubled for us.
Doubled. Okay, so the money amount will be doubled as soon as you extract together.
Yes.
It's just what we found out in playtesting is that there was always competition within the team, right? Like, so people would just run into the first house and then scavenge all the ammo boxes and report back loud. Sorry, there was nothing in here, right? Very mean, but
that's typically what I would do. It's like,
it's a reality.
Nothing here. Oh shit. Sorry.
So what we've introduced throughout basically the entire game mechanics is the concept to remove competition within the team and focus on the competition between teams.
Yeah.
So what that does is that, for example, if you find an ammo box, you as an individual, you can only use that ammo box once, but it has two uses, which means you and your partner both can take something from it.
So it can also be you and another team.
Exactly.
You can still tell your partner, hey, there's some ammunition left, go grab it.
But then someone else picks it up first.
That could happen.
That could happen.
Okay,
but overall, it at least removes a little bit the stress, this kind of race towards the next things to kind of snatch away before someone else takes it from you.
Very good.
Totally. And the same is true for the bounty as well. So if you've killed a boss, also that boss drops 2 pieces of bounty.
Yeah.
So same rules apply. You cannot take both of them, just run off and leave your partner like behind. Like both of you can pick one piece, or you can even intentionally leave one behind. Have you seen it in last streams?
Yes, CJ, I was about to say he did leave.
He did that also. Like I think when Alex and I were playing, we also had 2 rounds there, and both times we kind of in a hurry messed up the whole picking up thing because it was like, oh, they're all around us. Let's just make a run for it. In the end, that can be a good thing because if you have one piece left behind, it might be that they kind of have to choose like, do I follow them or do I just go for the scraps?
Yeah, that's a good
and
trap.
It's like dropping a decoy kind of like and making a run for it.
And if you extract together, then it's also that you get the double bonus or bounty anyways.
Exactly. So this is super important because when you extract, if you extract together, like there's nothing that stops a team to just say, you know what, I've just taken that bounty, I've taken enough risk, like I'm shaking, I just want to go for the exit. And the other guy goes, no, let's go for this second, or let's kill all the players. Like there might be people who want to do that, and they might even succeed. But it could be, especially if you don't play with your best friend, right, doing matchmaking or so, that like the strategy kind of like derails the team a little bit.
Yeah.
So we allow them to separate at that point because what they get when they extract is basically individually what is on them. However, we encourage them to extract together because if they are at the extraction point and then timeout counts down, there's a handshake. It's basically a co-op extraction. If they do that, they both get what the other guy has. So if you both bring down a piece from that boss, you basically score double.
So what if you're in a team together, you leave the other one behind, you extract, but the other person dies? Do you still get the XP from their grunts?
No.
Okay.
As
so
soon as you left the mission, I'm
from the following, but like everything that happened before.
Everything up to that point you get.
Shared,
okay.
Yes.
So yeah.
Because even if he died, that can happen, right? It depends a little bit on your health status.
Yeah.
We can talk about this in a second. It can be that one point, like one player just runs out of luck.
Yeah.
And if that happens, the other player continues, but that doesn't devalue what has happened until that point where they like the best team ever cleared all the compounds from enemies, found all the clues. That is still valid, so we obviously still want to reward you for that. But it is a possibility that people just say like, you know what, I want to go for the exit, but hey, I want to continue, and then in this case they just call it a day and split, and then it's the individual risk.
Later.
But a strategy that we've been doing a couple times is actually that if only one of the team carries bounty, the other player, because he is not going to be marked out, he's not going to be highlighted. We saw it in last stream, so lightning strike. So we can use him as a bodyguard.
Because he doesn't have the lighting.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. So what you can do is, if you know you're being chased by another team, you just send your partner with a bounty ahead, and you just wait a little bit behind, set an ambush, and kind of catch up afterwards if you survive. So
you can't drop the bounty right now.
You can only on death basically,
Yes.
but even then, your partner usually revives you, and enemies loot the bounty from you.
Okay. So you can only revive or loot the bounty from somebody if
Exactly.
it's
From different
down,
players,
but it's not that it drops if you're
Yes.
dead.
Yes.
Okay. What if? No, it doesn't matter. No, never mind. I was like, what if a person like leaves the game if they die, but that doesn't matter to them.
Then their body remains behind for someone else to loot them.
Exactly.
That's-
That makes sense.
Speaking of dying, we share XP even if you die. So as long as you're both together in the mission,
Yeah.
we share XP. No
Everything
matter if
that
you
happens
die
until you
or
die,
if you're
yeah.
far away, everything is shared.
Interesting. Okay.
But there's also a negative aspect to this side. If I shoot my team partner, I get punished
Individually.
individually.
I was about to say that would be so everyone both gets.
Then I get XP will be subtracted from my account. But if I revive you again, the XP is restored. So then it's balanced.
So whatever we can do, and we kind of abusing the greed of the players a little bit to kind of encourage them, to nudge them a little bit towards team play. So by making sure it kind of hurts their pocket a little bit if they don't play together, we kind of incentivize sticking together, caring for each other, reviving as a valid best practice, because that's how you make profit.
Makes sense. Oh, I'm so sorry. You guys are not.
Maybe we should then have a quick look about the hunter progression as the next step. Just like I think we have like a nice diagram there, Rick. Actually, let's talk about the general thing first, and then we come back to the diagram in a second. You want to talk about the recruitment maybe a little bit?
Yeah. So as I already said, we have 4 recruits. You can choose one, and each one can come with different equipment. So this is also based on your bloodline rank, because we divide them into different levels into tiers. Yeah. So the higher you progress in your bloodline rank, the better the tier becomes, and the better the hunter becomes. So let's say, for example, you are within a rank of, right now it's 1 and 30, then you have access to tier 1 characters. So every time you go to the recruit screen or you do a reshuffle for the hunters, only the tier 1 will be present. And the tier 1, they come with lower equipment than tier 2 or 3, obviously. And they might be also what you see here in the middle. These are the traits, a representation of the traits, the perks, the passive abilities each hunter can bring. And that allows you, for example, to dual wield melee weapons, or to carry a ranged weapon and a melee weapon in one hand, rapid fire, or even two-handed weapons for your mission. So it depends on these initial recruits what your choice might be, and also they come with different health distribution. So tier 1 guys do not have as much health as tier 3 guys. So the higher the rank is, the better the hunter becomes.
But obviously that also comes down to the costs of it, right? So like basically we kind of calculate, okay, so this hunter, like what's the actual attributes we have, like so the health, the traits, the weapons, all of them have a certain value, which means that is kind of reflected in the recruitment cost. So as you have these 4 recruits in front of you, they might obviously differ in different gear options, so that you can kind of pick the one that is best suited for your playstyle. But you can also kind of be a bit more like, okay, well, I don't want to spend too much money. I'm very confident I can take this guy, the cheap one, I can build him up because I'm such a good player. I'll just win 2 rounds, and then he will be on the same level as the other one easily. Maybe it works, maybe not. But it's a choice that is intentionally designed into the system to give you a bit more options to kind of like find the dude you feel most comfortable with, and then turn him into that. That doesn't stop you from just seeing the one guy, maybe he's like a melee expert, starts with a melee weapon already, maybe he has a trait that is good for melee, and then you turn him into the best sniper ever. That's the beauty of this whole thing. This is when we talk about the progression of the hunters, like how we kind of make them our own. We take the starting set, we take the foundation, and we kind of like turn him into the dudes we really like to bring into mission specialized.
Exactly, because sometimes you pick the hunter that has a lot of attributes, even though he's melee. Well, you want to take
Yeah,
weapon, and then
exactly,
you can still
exactly.
tune him.
Well, what also can happen is that even if it's a tier 1 character and you did not unlock this rank in your bloodline, the hunter can still come with some weapons
Yeah, I know.
that you haven't unlocked yet.
Ah,
Yeah. This is really cool. Like, basically, it gives us a chance to. We talked about the linear progression, right? Like, so like I need to be whatever rank in order to unlock a specific weapon in the shop. Once I've unlocked it, I can then still need to buy it with the dollars I've earned from the mission, etc.
makes
So there's still like an economy behind it. But maybe there's like in 10 ranks, there's this new really cool weapon. I really want to have a look at that one. Obviously, I can now just basically play and grind towards that, unlock that eventually, or I can look for maybe a recruit which already starts with that weapon. So again, the weapons are kind of mapped a little bit to the tiers, so you won't get like a super high-end gear on like a tier 1 guy, but there's always some overlap. It's a bit of a preview almost.
yeah, of what you can get.
Yep.
No, that makes sense. Because I actually had that in my last game. It's like, I wish I want to buy this weapon again because my hunter died, but I couldn't because I didn't unlock it yet.
And one more important thing is that they look different.
Yeah.
So tier 1 guys look like the rookie.
The intern,
the intern,
right?
and then the
Yeah.
starter.
Magnus is always referring to them as the intern.
The
Yeah, the
interns.
intern, while tier 3 is then really the bounty hunter. And you see, if you meet someone in a game, you can tell by his appearance, this guy invested some
Shit.
money and don't mess with him.
But you
I
can
mean,
also
we'll-
you can also use this very very deceptive, obviously. Like, so if you're a seasoned player, so you have quite a couple of ranks, it doesn't stop you from still recruiting like one of those easier guys.
Good point.
He is primarily cheaper, right? I mean, obviously, like if he comes like in plain clothes, like he might
Smurf
stand.
account, guys.
Yeah, he might stand out a little bit because he's like wearing like some sort of like a cowboy blue jeans type of thing, or like just like a bit brighter colors. Can be the case on the tier 1 dudes. They are interns. They don't know yet how the Bayou works, right? But the more you progress towards the higher tier characters and you recruit those, obviously the more they look like they know what they're doing. So they're a bit more like camouflage. It's like the analogy to like a modern game where you see like the guy with a t-shirt, then you see the guy with the ghillie suit. It's the same story we're trying to tell you.
Yeah.
Basically, you want to see like that guy probably knows what he's doing.
I had a
Careful.
ghillie suit once and I didn't know what I was doing. I still died. Okay, do you want to take a picture or
Yeah,
look
then
at the
maybe
next
let's
pics?
go a bit more down the progression for the hunter specifically.
Yeah.
Rick, if you could load up the next image for us.
Yeah, and also we're gonna look after the play session. We're gonna take a look at the different tier
Yes.
hunters.
So
you
we
guys
have
get a
we
good
have
idea.
Florian join us. He's working in the character department. Basically, is bringing a couple of really cool details about the hunters. This will be
Really nice.
when we are back basically after the play session. Then.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we here see is our current way how we represent the hunter progression. So on the left you see the current level of the hunter, and you have this progression bar, the typical progression bar like in other games, and you see these little icons. One is colored in red. That means that we have certain gates in the hunter progression, meaning that if you pass this gate, there will be some XP transferred to your bloodline. This is for sure. Nobody can take this
Okay.
away again from you. So
So
in case the
that-
hunter dies and has passed a lot of gates, for example, you can be sure all this XP is safe.
Interesting. So like is it equal to the amount of XP that went into the hunter then that you can open up, or for the bloodline, or how is that exactly?
It depends. So let's say we have, you need 50,000 XP for your hunter. Then we have different gates like 5,000, 10,000, 50,000. And if you summarize all of these, there will be much more XP for you to gain for the bloodline than you need to make the maximum level of the
Okay.
hunter.
Yes.
Okay, that's good to know.
Basically, what it also means is that you always have like this next gate to work towards. As such, also becomes a bit of like a challenge. Like, so, okay, the gate's a little bit further apart this time. I've just scored a 10,000 gate, which means like last time I did that, like 10,000 XP went directly into my bloodline. But now I still need, I guess, 2 missions probably to fill up the next gate. So I should probably be very careful because I really want to hit that gate, right? So
Imagine
Do I take the
dying
risk
on
or
the
not?
5 XP before
Yes,
the next
that
tick.
can happen.
Yeah?
And if it happens, and it will happen,
Many broken keyboards.
nah, I don't think so. But what will happen is basically that you still get the XP from that mission you played.
From the current mission.
So,
yes.
so the threshold that has been building up is gone.
Does that still count? So let's say you, from that mission, even though you're dead, but your character's dead, and you need 10 for the gate, do you still
The
get
gate,
it?
once you died, the gate is irrelevant.
Yes.
That
You
you
need
missed
to
the
pass
gate.
the gate.
But you still get the missions score, basically. So if you killed, let's say, like 20 grunts and maybe one other player, you get XP for that nonetheless, and that still flows back. So there is a reward for what just happened. It's just that you're going to miss that one gate.
Yeah.
So better luck next time.
I'd be so salty.
What's also important with this one is that if you kind of reach the maximum, right? So we say like at the moment I think it's like rank 50. We're still playing with the numbers. It could be the end that a hunter can go to 100. So this is all very much in flux as we're kind of like tuning the meta game and getting a sense of this. Is that if you kind of reach the end point, so you've unlocked the final gate. There's no more gates to be gained from that hunter. He is seasoned veteran. There's no more you can teach him. He has all the traits. He has all the cool points. At one point, there might be a reason for you to say, you know what, I've played enough with this guy. I want to recruit like a fresh blood in order to have a chance to then find new gates, like progress again. And then you can retire him. There is a retirement bonus, so it gives you basically a chance to still get something on top. But you can also just choose to continue playing with him. So that just means from that point on, you will only ever get the XP directly from that mission. There's no more bonuses to be earned. But maybe it's the hunter that you, like maybe it was your first hunter and you just kept him alive. Or he has like this
if he's still alive by then, you've been doing a really good job.
Really good job. I mean, you could also just have like a very good combination of perks or equipment, something you really enjoy playing with. There's nothing that stops you from just continuing playing. But if you want to continue progressing at a higher speed, obviously, it makes sense to kind of like see if maybe you want to create a new hunter and then start the process again. So it kind of loops over and over again. The life and death cycle of a hunter.
I mean, it does definitely like promote the fact that you can go with different hunters and level those up. But it also might be nice because that also promotes the idea of having different hunters with different play styles.
Yes.
And for each level you make with a hunter, you get an upgrade point, where you can buy health chunks or rearrange your health or buy these traits and assign them to the hunter.
Okay, nice. Yeah, because that's something we haven't also shown yet, the buying health chunks. Like, we have seen that you had different health chunks.
Exactly.
So you can
we will do that later when we play it, basically. Hopefully, if you make it out alive of a mission, we'll be able to show what actually that means to make it out alive. We probably look very happy when that happens.
I mean, you've won both games last time.
Yeah, but we were lucky. We were super lucky.
He always wins.
Not always. Alex did his part. It was really good. Like, he carried me.
You guys played really well. Like, last match, Marcel and CJ was kind of a, CJ, where are you going? He's like, no, but just gonna... It's like, it wasn't the best coordination, but it was fun to watch. So that was
and
good.
I think they also had a lot of fun playing. So
exactly.
Like,
that is important.
It's the thing, like, it will not always work out perfectly. And what's important is, like, with the sandbox type of environment we kind of have, like, so kind of like mess around with things. This idea, let's retry this thing right now.
Yeah.
I can go for it. When, yes, you might lose your hunter, but so what? You will lose a couple of hunters.
Probably not.
So there's nothing stopping players from just experimenting and just finding their own little way. If that's trolling other players, just like moving around them and using the in-game voice to just like yell at them but never really engaging them. If they want, they can do that. But obviously, the ones that actually go for the mission objective, they will be the ones who progress the further, and they will have more options in the end.
So I know this is something that we'll go into more detail in another live stream, but the solo versus team play. If you decide to play solo, you're obviously already committing to going in a game alone.
Yes.
While you are playing against teams of two, most likely. Will we have any form of XP reward that would promote doing it alone as well, or we don't want to promote it all, or like any form of reward for being it and like being an amazing feat or something?
Yeah, because I think there's pros and cons in both ways. So I mean, if you work together with a partner, so if you bring your friend or whatever, or you just matchmake with a stranger, and then you kind of align yourselves for the goals, what you want to achieve, there's a benefit in there because like you can revive each other. So the way reviving works is that we talked about the health chunks before. Each health chunk you have is lost when you die. So when you're when you're downed, the health chunk is gone. Now you still need someone to revive you, which means if you play solo, that's not going to happen. The hunter is dead anyways, so it's very harsh. In this case, playing solo means death is death. However, there's still a limited amount of revives you have even in a team. So depending on whether you equip more smaller chunks or fewer bigger chunks, and that's part of the whole meta game. We talk about this a little bit, like finding the right balance between the number of revives your character can have, but also how well he can maybe take up damage before that chunk is depleted, and then you would need to find the bandage, etc., to stock it up.
Yeah.
Finding that balance. In the end, both are valid strategies. And a solo player usually has the advantage that he can kind of like be in the shadows a bit more. Like you don't have like the second player trailing you. So
I mean, if you want to get the body, it's pretty hard to go against 2 people or multiple.
That is true, but keep one thing in mind: it is possible, because
No,
there's something we've tried out in the playtesting. We had like larger teams in the past. Like, I mean, this game came from the co-op experience, 4-player game, third person. That the Austin team was originally working on, and we made it our own, basically transformed it into a first-person game and introduced the PvP aspect and the 2-player teams as a maximum. Now what it does is it allows us to still have everybody in the same realm. Everybody can be in the same mission, and you just don't know the 10 players totally on the server, or maximum of 10 players, what constellations of teams are there, like how many pairs, how many individuals, and that also means as a single player, you still have a chance to take on a team. If there were more than 2 players, unlikely.
No,
Unlikely. But so 2 is a good sweet spot because it allows you to really focus on the team coordination between you and your partner. But it also doesn't become such an overpowered unit in the game that the 2 of you can basically wipe everything. A single player with a bit of a brain can actually set an ambush for you and bring both of you down very quickly, or at least bring one down, and then use the body of the downed partner kind of bit of like a lever to kind of like see how he can maybe get to the other guy. So it's in a nutshell, basically playing solo, playing a team, both are very valid options. So there is no need to incentivize the solo play as like giving you more reward. We actually encourage players more to team up, but also teaming up is more challenging. You need to be good in communication. You need to kind of like have a sense of working together. If you just run off,
true, it's more challenging for some people.
So I think the scoring system is just fine there, but obviously. That's why we do early access, right? Like, so we can run this all out. We see how people react, and if in the end, like all the solo players say, like, "Oh, this is so unfair," well, we probably think of some cool mechanics to compensate for that.
Sounds good. I think we have 1 or 2 more pictures.
Yes,
no, 2 more, I believe.
I think maybe even 3 more. I think the next thing to talk about would be the Bloodline.
Progression.
Also, wait, can you quickly put the image a bit to the side? Or like not the image, the Word document, because it's so big.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the screen we're looking at.
Yeah!
Nice.
So what we see right now is the Bloodline. So this is what I mentioned before. We have like this 2 cornerstone progression. On one hand, it's the Hunter. We just talked a lot about him. But let's now talk a little bit more about the Bloodline. So as a hunter, basically lives and dies and is being replaced, and again and again and again. The Bloodline is persistent. That's your main progress. This is your mid to long term motivation.
Yeah.
This is where you basically feed all of the progress from the hunters. We see it like with the little bonus gates there, like the little red thing there under the hunter. Basically, if you reach that one, it drops down directly and feeds up the Bloodline. So this is when you move towards, for example, the next weapon unlock in the shop. Obviously, a very linear progression, but there can also be more things. It's not just like a single weapon. It could also be a trait or other things you unlock there. But it basically increases your options. You have a chance to kind of like get a bigger arsenal to choose from. You still need to buy the weapons in the shop and assign them. And if the guy dies, you still lost all of the money for the weapon. That's part of the formula. But at least you can choose whether you bring the 1-barrel shotgun, the double-barrel shotgun, the pump-action shotgun, the semi-automatic shotgun, or any variation of in between them with the blades on it or specific reloading mechanisms or whatever we offer. So it just gives you a chance to customize and personalize more. And being a linear progression, obviously, it kind of eases you into these features as it doesn't overwhelm you with this arsenal right away. Yeah. But it kind of gives you a nice, well-designed, hopefully, progression into this arsenal.
Because especially if there's so much, like, I don't know what to choose from. What will I take? This looks cool.
Exactly. And we will see this a little bit when we actually play, because like this time around, obviously, we're going to show you a little bit more of the menus before we play, so we're going to go through the equipment process. But what's important to talk about the Bloodline as well is that there's going to be the prestige system. So prestige system is something which is also pretty straightforward. Most people know exactly what that means when I just mention a name. It's a very standard system that allows you that if you have maximized your rank, so you've kind of reach the end of the progression, there's a chance for you to also do a voluntary reset and get like a bit of bragging rights, like a little medal icon, whatever. And then you can basically grind again. You can restart the progression and do it 1 more time, 3 more times, 10 more times.
So you would lose all your gear that you can buy.
Basically, you would lose all of the hunters. You would reset to rank 1 on the bloodline.
Oh, you completely reset.
It's basically a reset, but if you do so, exactly.
Interesting.
You don't get anything from a gameplay point of view, right? There's no advantage from a gameplay side. It just gives you something which you can kind of aspire to. So there's some people who like prestige, some people who just like, I would never do it. That's fair enough. It just gives people who really like to have these short-term, mid-term goals, like something to work towards, that they can do it again. And
sounds like a weird example, but it's like completely starting fresh in Minecraft. Because like you always build so much stuff, and then it's like I lost all my creativity, and then you just start afresh, and it's like, oh yeah, I can build again.
In a way that works. I think from the prestige side, it's also a very nice thing for an early access game, because I mean we will start the game with a rich set of weapons and equipment already. I think Magnus in the last stream, we talked a little bit about the numbers and stuff.
Yeah, I believe so.
When we did the extra live stream, but we're gonna plan on expanding that, obviously, which means there's gonna be more weapons, more equipment we roll out, and obviously they have to find their place somewhere on that linear progression. Right? So in the beginning, it might be 1, 2, 3 ranks maybe where you don't get anything, but later on, as we reach that point during development where we introduce maybe a new weapon or a new trait that sits at that particular spot, you unlock them there. Obviously, if you're already at a higher level, you would automatically unlock them, but it gives you maybe a reason to kind of like try it again. This time unlock the shotgun, which last time you just got for free, basically, because it was released when you already were past that rank. Next time you kind of work towards it. But it's a minor system. It's not like super revolutionary anyways, but it gives you like another reason to keep engaging with the game, coming back. And as long as you're having fun rounds, there's always this little bit of meta game around it to kind of help you drive forward.
Gives you something to strive for.
Cool. Then maybe the next thing we can talk about is the summary screen. So basically, what you will see as you come out of a mission.
This after?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So exactly. Wow. Oh, this screen expands even more and more detail in it. So just in a nutshell, basically, because actually this screen is very close to what the screen will look like. This is a mock-up right now. As you come out of a mission, we kind of add up all of the things that happened, right? As you get like your XP for the different enemies you killed. In this case, for example, you get like 60 XP for 3 hive kills. Kind of drop in the center, and then they kind of go to where they need to live later on. So, for example, as you have a hunter that is still alive, it kind of goes to the left into the XP bag. Then the next enemy comes down, the next, and basically that XP bag becomes bigger, until all of these events have kind of been calculated, and it drops down to the hunter, and it drives the progression of the hunter forward. So you see the bar filling up. Possibly you reach like a new hunter level, and then you get the upgrade points. Possibly you even maybe hit a new gate, which means you actually feed something into the bloodline. Then the red thing falls down into the red line. That progresses. So it's a nice little trickle down system, which kind of gives you a good, nice progress of
what you've been doing.
How that happens. And if you have bounty, for example, the bounty kind of splits, because we mentioned it before. Bounty is more of a container which you turn into other resources afterwards. So it either so basically it splits into 2 things. It splits into XP on one hand, and it splits into like the dollars on the other hand. And then kind of like one goes right, one goes left, and then the bags go down. If your hunter died, just imagine the hunter thing wouldn't be there. There's a big gravestone, like guy's dead. The XP then trickles down, basically not through the gates, so because there's nothing to be earned anymore, but at least from that mission, all the XP goes directly into Bloodline. You still have some progression there.
Okay.
We have, think, a nice animation we have brought for that as well.
Yes, I think we prepared something.
You can load it up quickly as well. And
is it this one?
yeah, you think you just load it up as a video and then just set it on loop.
Yeah.
Oh, is it video?
Yeah, I think
Yes.
it was
I think
video.
it was only images that I received.
Okay, then we just talk about it in here. That's fine.
I can look it up if you want me here very quick.
No, we can talk about it in a second. It's basically just a nice animation of what we already see here. You know what? We see if maybe we can show it right after the stream.
Yeah,
so when we basically are playing, maybe you guys can have a look, and we just show it out afterwards. Oh, look, it animates.
Thank you.
Wow.
How does that happen? Maybe it's a click.
Yeah, perfect.
Or something? Okay.
So yeah, basically we take a long time now to talk about it because Rick has to press the button every time so it restarts.
Yeah.
Basically, it just shows the same thing as we did in motion. And Rick is already chatting again, so he can't press the button. It basically, you see exactly what we just talked about. Like, so the events kind of add up in the center. They kind of split into the respective buckets, and they go down. Things fill up, as you see here. New rank. Then we have like little progress. New weapon. What me too.
Yeah.
So it's a very traditional system, but it allows you to kind of like still see how you've
done it. Yeah.
Maybe one last point about that stuff before we talk a little bit about the future plans also, and then move on to the playtesting. The hunter points, the upgrade points. So we mentioned it before, every time a hunter is basically making a new level. So we differentiate between levels on the hunter and ranks on the bloodline, just like to not confuse the two. If you make a level on the hunter, you get an upgrade point. What we expect is that as you have played an average mission, maybe came out alive, maybe brought some bounty back, you'll make several levels. So you probably sometimes jump 5 to 10 levels at a time. That means you have 5 to 10 of these upgrade points available. And the way you use these upgrade points, I'm going to show you that a little bit later on in practice, is you can use them and invest them into additional health chunks. Because we mentioned it before, as you die, you lose health chunks. They're permanently gone. But also, it allows you to kind of like be on top, kind of upgrade a little bit. It's like there's a maximum of 150 hit points. Most characters start with around 100, 125, and then they come with different combinations of 25ers or 50 health chunks. The last one is always a 50, so there's always a bit of a safety net there.
Oh, is that always?
Yeah, it's always there. But you can kind of use these hunter points, upgrade points, to keep your hunter in the game. Like to kind of like invest a little bit of the points to kind of restocking, managing. Maybe this time you want to have 150er if you have the room for it. Maybe another time you want to have 225er. So it gives you a bit of engagement there, and then the other points you can put also into additional traits. So you can become the best gunslinger, or you can get like some rifle handling or some melee stuff, depending on the options available for you. We have a couple placeholders at the moment. We're going to show you in a second. There's going to be much more moving forward. I think that's in a nutshell the progression. Lots of stuff to take in.
I mean, it's a lot of stuff that they didn't hear before, so I think it would be
And I think we'll come back to some of that stuff as we're basically recruiting our hunters, kind of like showing you a little bit more in motion how it all plays out.
Yeah.
And I think that's basically the summary. We can talk a little bit about like the next plans, which is so as we're an early access game, we will have like a bit of a roadmap ahead of us, right? Mm-hmm. So it doesn't just end with us going in early access. Early access is a phase. There's a commitment there. And what it means is that we will introduce additional features, and some of those have to do with progression. So we will start with a very basic system we just talked about, but we plan on expanding this a little bit. For example, we want to introduce our library. The library is basically an encyclopedia where the players will have a chance to read a little bit more about the backstory of the game, really look through the weapons, the enemies, all of the features we have, get a bit more explanations and things making sense to them. But there is a meta game to that as well, where eventually you will kind of like unlock additional pages. And this is simple things, for example, as for a specific enemy. Let's take the Hive, for example. There's like the Book of Monsters, and then there's an entry for the Hive, the chapter for the Hive, and we'll have a couple of sections to it. And in order to unlock the next section, maybe you need to do and complete a couple of conditions. For example, maybe you need to kill 50 hives, and the next page is unlocked.
Sort of like
it also exactly gives you like a bit of XP on top of that, so it is in a way game relevant. It allows you to farm a little bit more XP and obviously drive the progression higher up. But it also gives you these new spaces to explore, learn about weaknesses, where usually you find them, etc. So you can engage with the meta game there a little bit and actually feedback information into the real sessions, get like the edge on the enemy. And the second thing is that we will at one point introduce a crafting system. The crafting system is going to be a very big step for us, so it will take some time until we get to that point. There'll be more information on that in the future. But it means it will live in the library as well. So basically the Book of Weapons will have the main weapon. Let's call it the Winfield, which is our repeater rifle. At the moment, all of the variations of that weapon, you can find them normally mapped against the ranks of the Bloodline. You will just unlock them as they go, basically. When we introduce the crafting, we will take very much of these variations of the weapons and remove them from the Bloodline linear progression and turn them into the crafting metagame. So from that point on, you will get the main weapons, the true stock weapons, basically, through the normal progression. And the variations you will then have to unlock the respective blueprints for by engaging with that weapon, and obviously finding ingredients in the worlds, moving around. So the scavenging exploration part will become also like another pillar of the core gameplay. So this is very raw, and we don't want to talk too much about it, but I think it's important to kind of like let you guys know what our plans are. So it's a bit of a teaser. But the traditional first thing we're going to do is that we will go out with its very linear progression, and then as we introduce new weapons that are not there when we do the first release, these new weapons kind of take the place step by step of weapons that are currently variants, which will move into the crafting system. So expect the meta to be always giving you new surprises and challenging new things.
Awesome. That means we're gonna go to the break.
We can show a little bit the art style maybe quickly.
Oh, do we? Well, the thing is, I have those pictures in the other folder saved for the end because that's when we.
Then we do it afterwards, basically.
Because that was only the prestige, the 3 tiers, right?
No, we talk about the menus, the menus. Yeah, some nice.
Oh, do you have?
They should be in the
folder.
Rick, if you can see them there. If not, we just try and show them later. It's also fun.
Okay, no.
We're super flexible here.
I completely forgot about it. So yeah, there's something we have to mention. Obviously, this is how the menu doesn't currently look.
Yes. So at the moment, I mean, I mentioned it before. We are a game which is mostly about that action inside the mission. The metagame is a support vessel to it. And so far, our focus in development has been primarily making sure that what happens inside the mission is really fun and engaging. And this is like well, most of our effort has been focused around. But now we're starting to go into the metagame side, which means, however, things are more functional than really polished at this point. So the menus you will see as we play, for example, they're very basic functional menus, just to allow us to interact with the menu, feedback to our UI team, to designers, basically get a sense of it. And then there's the idea, obviously, to bring a certain style to it as well. So we have our UI guys currently working on like a nice flavor of it. Yeah. So what we see right now is basically just like some screens. We can just quickly just go through them, like Rick, if you want, just like slideshow through them a little bit every couple of seconds, just switch to the next. We just talk about as we go. So like this is how this whole thing could look like. This is a mock-up, obviously. So as you kind of manage your different hunters, you see your equipment, you see the categories you have in there.
How many hunters can you have maximum?
There's a maximum of 5 hunters you can own at the same time.
Yeah.
But with the lethality rate in that game, it's probably going to be hard for you to fill them all up continuously.
Yeah, you die.
Can you go to the next one if you want?
I never die.
So this is, for example, how the recruitment screen could look like. As we can see, like the 4 different recruits, and then you see like the equipment options they have. Obviously, this is just like a quick mock-up, so there's no real difference in between them. At least not that much. But you kind of get a good overview. You see like the health chunks, for example, like the one on the left has 250, 125. The one in the center have like both 350s, and then we have one on the far right with 250s. So it kind of gives you a sense like which one do I pick, what is the right weapons, and I can also just reshuffle and maybe get a new set that obviously costs me some in-game dollars that I could otherwise use for gear. So it basically just gives you a chance to kind of like go through and explore that. And you will see the functional side of it in a couple of minutes as we are sitting in front of the machines. This is like how the shop looks like, as you kind of like can browse through different equipment options and can kind of see what you have equipped, what the options you would need to purchase, what you have available, how many. You can see comparison stats between them. So it just gives you a nice overview of like what all these different weapons can do, and make sure you pick the right one, which hopefully we will do as well in a second when we play.
I hope so. Yeah, but nothing, everything is in-game. The money you earn, nothing is bought with extra currency outside the game.
I mentioned it before, our progression system is traditional, it's proven. We're not having randomization in that one that like you get any sorts of like...
advantage.
I don't really want to spell it out. I think everybody knows what I mean. No, this is a very, very basic thing. The focus for us is it should be a fun, exciting, cool mission to play, and the metagame is there to support you to have a great time and not to like squeeze you out. Yes.
Exactly. Okay. I think this is the last page, or is there still one more?
Nope. I think that's it. So
that's it.
Yeah.
Then we're gonna go for a break, and we'll be back with the game. So make sure you stay, and I'll see you guys in a bit.
See you in a bit.
See you soon.
So we're back. I think
Hello.
you guys can probably hear us. We've turned the camera off, which you normally have, the little webcam that shows our faces, just so we can show you the full menu in a second. And we turn the camera back on basically then for the loading and as we play the session. So what we're going to show you a little bit is basically this progress, how this whole goes inside the actual menus. The stuff basically we talked about before. And for that, you see like our landing page at the moment, lots of like different stats which are not hooked up. This is all very placeholder. The whole menu is very functional right now. And therefore, obviously, things are still in flux. So what we're going to show you is like how we recruit a hunter. So we already have one here, but we want to recruit a new one. And here we see like the overview of that particular hunter. See like what he has, equipment can be changed. We can upgrade him later on. And then we want to have a new one, obviously, in this case. So as we press on recruit, we have now a rank of 46. So kind of cheated things a little bit together just to show you like a typical mid-game kit. And in this case, you see like we have like tier 2 hunters as a choice here for us to go through. So they have equipment which is very typical for them. And we're just browsing through a little bit what type of hunters we would like to use. I mean, Andreas, I would suggest that I'm going to pick something with a rifle. And you're going to pick...
I can pick something with a shotgun.
Yeah, I think that's good. That complements each other quite nicely. So we basically see the hunters here having different health sets. So as I mentioned before, like each health kit is like health chunk is basically 50 or 25 points. The last one you have is always going to be a 50er, so you can kind of see which one is most appropriate for you. The 50s obviously take longer to deplete, which means in combat you can take more hits before it's out, because health only regenerates to the next barrier. Or if you have more health chunks, obviously, because you lose health chunks on death, in order for your partner to revive you, one of these health chunks is gone afterwards. So now we just look through the weapons they have here and pick one which makes sense. And actually, I think I'm going to go as a basis with Rupert Knightley over here. I'm going to hire him, and I'm going to swap out some of his weapons from the shop afterwards. So as I hire him, I can see that this guy already comes with 2 pistols. So he has like a Nagant revolver. You guys have seen the last stream we had with Alex on the weapons, as well as the Dolph 96, so a semi-automatic pistol, which is a very good backup to have. And that guy has a couple of dusters, so it's like melee weapon. And he comes with 1 dynamite stick, which is great. His health is kind of moderate, so depending if he survives the mission, if we survive the mission, we'll see if we can upgrade him afterwards, maybe to give him a bit of a bolster to have more health. So obviously we want to give him maybe some other weapons. I would like to switch out the pistol maybe for a rifle. So in this case we go to our store. And what we see here is our in-game store with all of the different categories of weapons, consumables, etc. As I scroll through, you can see like different options, weapons we have. This is just like the big unsorted list right now. I need to bring a bit more structure in here. Again, most of it is functional right now. And I'm going to pick something which is a bit more rifle-ishy. So I think I'm probably going to go with the Winfield Talon, which is pretty cool because like it's a repeater rifle. So the damage is kind of moderate. It uses pistol ammunition, but it has a lot of bullets and like 15 to be precise, plus the chamber. It's kind of a decent, very flexible weapon. And this one comes equipped with a couple of blades even, which means it's kind of decent for melee as well. So I'm going to buy this one. And then when it comes to the tools, we can go back to the hunter quickly and see, since we only had the dusters, maybe we're going to equip a couple more tools and maybe a couple more consumables. I mean, maybe more dynamite sticks because they're cool.
Do you think we might need a flashlight or something?
I mean, so we're going to play a daytime mission today, but I think it's maybe good if one of us maybe brings one. If you want, bring one.
Yeah,
then
I can equip one, yes.
Okay, that's cool. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna equip one.
Okay.
Because I just realized that because I have a melee weapon already, which means I can leave the dusters at home.
Okay. Yes.
Because I don't
Makes
need
sense.
both. So then I have a free slot basically, so that I can use the lamp, and you can bring maybe a knife or some dusters for you, so that you have some melee as well. Okay. So on the hunter, I'm quickly equip the main weapon,
So I'm going to put the talent in there instead. I have the Dolphy as a secondary. And now back to the store. I'm going to buy myself a first aid kit. And I'm going to get myself some fusey. So just in case, actually bring some light as well. There's also great for confusion.
I already have some. Yeah.
It's cool. So we have a couple of those then. It's basically from now on that we take the consumables as the next step. Just one sec. And so we need to go.
Just getting an autograph.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then let me see, where are we? Let's first equip the fuses. And then first aid kit here. I'll leave the dusters home. I still did one thing which I need to do, which is buying an electric lamp, the flashlight. And in here, I'm gonna put that on this slot. So basically, the slots are kind of numerized. So we have the main weapon slots. So there's a slot 1, then slot 2 for the second, and then we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's traits that allow you to get like a fourth of each of those. So in a way, you can kind of quickly access all of these tools. And if you put the flashlight at first one, it means the flashlight is always going to be on the button 3. So it's basically up to the player to find out his own perfect mapping for this one. But I really like to put him always on the 3 button so I can kind of memorize that. And that becomes my flashlight button that way. Okay, so the last thing is a couple more explosives maybe. So we go to the consumables. I can see what I have. So at the moment, you see like some of the consumables are still locked for me. So I still can't get the all-time favorite concertina bomb or the big dynamite bundle, which is like the almost like atom bomb of our game. It's like really kills a lot. And I'm just gonna bring a couple more dynamite sticks. I'm gonna equip a couple of fire bombs and a couple of frag bombs. So I just have them in my arsenal, which means I can choose now to equip them to individual hunters. See like the numbers here. And I'm going to bring one more dynamite stick, and I think I'm going to go for the firebomb actually. All right, so this is the equipment that I'm going to go for. Andreas, what type of weapons would you going to pick? So
I have a Vetterli at the primary weapon and Cadwell Rival as a shotgun in second place.
Okay, so basically the cool thing with your character is that he has a trait that allows him to equip 2 primary weapons, which is really cool.
Yep.
So a rifle and a shotgun. And tool-wise, as I can see, you have a knife, you have a med kit as well, which is good.
And fusees.
Also fusees. And in addition, dynamite, firebomb, and a frag bomb. Frag bomb is basically like a primitive hand grenade. Obviously, we are in the age before the hand grenade. So this is a makeshift fragmentation explosive. It's different to like dynamite that doesn't blow up doors, but it still kills like and shreds enemies in a large radius.
Seems we gotta go.
All right, so then in this case, let's go to play and see what mission we're gonna play. So we know that we want to play the spider. Yeah, I think the equipment we have is also pretty suitable with your shotgun and our gear there.
Yes.
So we're gonna play a daytime mission with the spider. See like the kind of bounty it has. Since it's the only target, obviously it can be anywhere on the map. We will be, for now, drop at a random position into that map. Later on, there will be like a choice of spawn points you can kind of choose between, which is becoming more important as you might have 2 targets and like the area is kind of cut in the middle or a certain way. And then if you want to equip yourself to kill a specific target and you know that he's going to be in that maybe top east region, then you can pick one of the spawn points suggested to you, which is closest, so you don't have to run across the entire map. In this case, however, 1 target, which means we have to go and find clues. So I guess we'll be back in a second once we're loaded into the game then.
I'm going to turn on the webcams. Okay.
right, I think we're back. So we're in the mission, and as you can see, it's daytime.
Yay!
So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna quickly talk about equipment, and then we're gonna go and find our first clue. So first thing quickly, so I brought the Winfield, and what Andreas has is a nice shotgun. Don't run away from me, Andreas.
Oh.
The weird thing is that for a sec is that I
Up there he
see
is.
that
A little
sound in my,
leg spike there. Hopefully that's the only one we have.
I don't hear the sound from the game right now.
Okay, can anyone else hear us? Can the chat hear us talk?
No, we hear you, but the game sound is not working.
The game
Okay,
sounds.
I can hear the game sound,
Yes,
at least
me
with
too.
something.
Oh, I know it. Think with this.
Right. Press the right buttons.
Red mic. Do you still hear sound?
Nope. Just quickly check that stuff. That's fine.
Do you hear sound now?
I don't hear sound now.
No, I don't hear
Just
anything.
unplugged me.
You hear sound.
Now I'm. Yes, now I hear sound.
Yes.
You hear sound?
Yep.
Wait, please. Wait,
Let me
please.
see.
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
1 sec.
Okay.
Technology.
So let's see if it works now. Back in the game.
Now it should work.
So can you guys hear stuff?
Why does it turn off when
All right. Andreas is walking in the water. Can anyone hear the water?
I'm not walking.
All right, there we go. So, Janneke, give us an update. Where are we with the sound? Should we proceed or should we wait?
I don't understand. It was like literally working a second ago. It's because of the they plug the different headsets in. Let me see. Just a test.
Uh-huh.
I think sound is coming back now. Listen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now we hear game sound. You don't hear anything.
I don't hear anything, which...
I hear something.
Of course, we have rehearsed this a
Perfect.
couple times.
Yes,
This is
of
as
course.
planned.
Don't walk away from me.
I'm just afraid that if I plug it in, you hear nothing again. Please, for both. No, it just loses connection as soon as. Yeah, okay.
I have sound again, at least.
Yeah, but then the stream has no sound.
Okay, I guess we probably want to quickly have a look at that and then come back in a second.
Yes,
for
maybe
this.
we should just retry it.
Okay. And just put us back on the break screen and we're going to fix this and hopefully we'll be back in like a minute or two.
Okay.
Thank you.
I hate this. It's so annoying.
Are we off?
Okay, I'm very sorry about this, guys, but we've had some audio issues. Dealing with lots of capture cards and triple PC setups is not easy, and they've been using the stream room and, like, just got messed up, so unfortunately we could not play.
We showed daytime for 20 seconds.
Yes.
We showed daytime for 20
new.
seconds. You saw it here
good.
first. We will show
Menu?
more gameplay in the future. No worries. But yeah, we're just gonna have a talk more. We have a new person on the couch.
Hello.
Who are you? What do you do?
I'm Florian. I'm a lead character artist in Hunt. So yeah, I've been basically at Crytek for 6 years now. I originally joined for Rise. Yeah, what does a character artist do? Basically, we're the guys that build characters in the game, build model. So players, AI, enemies, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and what are we going to take a look at? Because we have some pictures right now.
Basically, we're gonna take a quick look at the different tiers of hunters from like how they look like and what the art direction is.
Okay, and was there something you guys still wanted to talk about
No, it's
before we go
basically
to the pictures?
I mean, we talked about it a bit before, right, with the hunters and the different tiers, and so we talked about the visual difference, and we had those like shadowy concept pictures there, which didn't reveal anything. So now basically what we're going to show is what Florian is going to primarily show is basically how like the different hunters and tiers can look like and how it all adds up and gives a cool visual look.
Cool. So yeah, I mean, obviously we have the 3 tiers in terms of like experience and how powerful they are, and that needs to be represented visually. So naturally, tier 1 guys are well, early game recruits, and that needs to reflect. So these are like more average Joe kind of guys. They are motivated, they're willing, but they don't really know what they're doing.
Like us.
Fair enough. So generally speaking, fairly bright color scheme. They're somewhat colorful. Nothing too crazy in terms of the clothing. It's not super functional stuff.
Yeah.
I think like a good overall vibe would be like a 50s Western movie extra. Like some dude that's just chilling in the background with like just a little bit too bright shirt, and yeah, that's tier 1 guys. So,
Nice casual.
now if we go to the tier 2 guys, those are pretty much our veterans. So these are characters that are a lot more experienced. They know what they're getting themselves into. and they bring everything they need for that purpose. So you see a lot more functional gear. You see stuff that has been well used is a bit worn down. Just cooler stuff in general. Overall, the color palette is a bit more faded. We have higher contrasts here. Basically, we want these guys to be a bit more badass.
They'll look
They kind of know what they're doing, right? Like they have been doing this a couple of times, going into the swamps, killing monsters.
Yeah. So these are basically like our, like, again, make a comparison. Like if you have like a contemporary Western movie, these are the guys that are like the villains or the heroes. So they're pretty cool characters. Yeah.
I like the right one with the beard and the long coats.
It's like this stranger gunslinger dude.
Yeah.
It's just. And then we have the final tier, the tier 3 guys, which are basically, these are our high-end hunters. Yeah, basically these are the most experienced, the most badass, the most, well, those are like the absolute high-end guys we have in the game. Basically what we're doing there, like for tier 1 and tier 2, it's mostly cosmetic. Well, it's for tier 3 cosmetic as well, but you have a little bit of an advantage in terms of just because they're fairly dark, they're just covered in mud and whatnot, you get a little bit of a camouflage effect. So they blend fairly nicely into the game world. So yeah, dark color palette, everything is super worn in, ripped up, patched up again, destroyed again. Everything is covered in dirt. And they're pretty much completely decked out from head to toe in like of the time and era military gear. So like where they can carry all their cool stuff and toys into a mission. They also have like trophies and trinkets from previous hunts. I think actually on the guy on the right you see like some sort of pendant
charms,
thing there.
yeah.
So there's a combination there of sort of military stuff, but then we have a little bit of a supernatural flavoring as well. Yeah, I mean, I think basically for them the overall idea is to have like special forces SWAT guys, but then also this kind of improvised crazy swamp rat feeling.
They're basically the counterparts of the ghillie suit guys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I'm curious, how many different like variations per tier do you have of hunters? Right
we're gonna be having like in total we're gonna be shipping with around 50.
50?
Yeah, I mean not per tier in total. And
yeah, in total, but that's still a lot more than I expected.
Yeah, so obviously this is just a small selection. We wanna keep some secrets here. Have some cool surprises.
Obviously.
But yeah, like this is like roughly speaking, the number will be around 50. And then if you can get to the next picture, please. So yeah, I think this just illustrates like the sort of visual progression we want to have with the guys. So as a player, you obviously need to understand what you're up against. So if you meet the guy on the right side in the forest, you know that you're in for a fight. So it needs to show, and you need to kind of be able to read what's going on. Yeah, I mean, in terms of just the process, these guys are built up in a modular fashion. So we can share assets and whatnot. We're quite flexible. In a way, it's very similar to what Alex is doing with the weapons.
Yes, super important for us. Like gives us like flexibility in the process.
And this will then also allow us to do player customization in the future. We won't have customization for now initially. It's coming up. But yeah, I mean, I think the rough idea is to have like change parts of the outfit, like the lower body, upper body, change the hat and whatnot. So there's some cool stuff planned.
Yeah, so initially, basically, as you recruit the guys, they come with a specific outfit, right, matching to their tier, etc. So this is what you get. You recruit this person.
Yeah.
And then moving forward during our early access phase, At one point, we want to introduce like customization, basically explore a little bit like, okay, how much control can we give the players to kind of like still modify them a little bit, take this guy, turn him a little bit, basically have a bit of a journey also within them. And most of that stuff is like a bit in flux at the moment. So basically this isn't a very organic process. We just see what we do. But this is what Florian basically said in the beginning. It's so modular that we have flexibility to try different things out and then see what is the best fit for the game.
But it is really nice because I never really saw in those pictures myself that you really see that everything gets worn down and like the equipment gets more like ragged. You can actually see that they've been places where the other one is like, fresh. I'm just going to Westworld or something.
Like,
and
yeah,
it's like,
I'm gonna go out hunt some monsters and what should I be bringing? Oh, I'm gonna buy myself a new shirt.
Best clothes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try that bounty hunter.
I do like that someone said that the Rowan kind of look like Luke Skywalker right now. I mean, it is pretty fitting because like the way he is right now in the last year. Pretty good, pretty good. No, I really like that.
Yeah, there's no lightsabers in the game though. We do
No
have a cavalry
lightsabers.
saber, however.
We do have a cavalry saber.
Interesting. I haven't tried that yet. So.
I think another thing that we should probably mention, I think that was already mentioned in the chat, but yeah, the female characters will also be not initially, like those are coming up, same as customization.
Yeah, and it's super important for us that, I mean, obviously we want to have like this cut through society in a way. There's like genders, different ethnicities, like basically make sure like the hunters, they come from basically all backgrounds and they're there for the same purpose, hunting monsters, making a profit.
Yeah.
So they're drawn from all sorts of all corners of the world. So this is going to be like something we're going to expand on a lot as we move forward. And obviously female hunters is a very important part for us there as well.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited for female hunters. Good, good.
We have some pretty cool stuff, like there's some pretty interesting concepts.
Really want to see it. I haven't seen
More
it. Just come
soon.
by. I mean, I can come see it, right?
We can't talk about
No.
it yet. Now, there will be more of that stuff soon, obviously. So there's a good thing about early access, right? Like we can get you guys, the community, like develop this whole thing with us. We give you like sneak peeks and kind of like explain to you as we move forward, like what the roadmap is going to be when things come online and kind of like grow this. And based on your feedback also, so like if you want more female hunters, well, I guess we'll probably make more female hunters.
More females. Just like baby hunters next. Children. Some children.
I'm not quite sure. I'm not
But
quite
you
sure.
had to bring in some controversial topic again, of course.
No, I wouldn't. Animal hunters. Just a random boar, but that's the hunter.
Can you customize it visually as well?
We can try checking out some of our like AI tractors maybe.
Yeah. I think sky's the limit as always, but I mean, so we have a good plan for basically the early access phase, the initial release, being mostly around like the hunters we've seen here and the variations of them. We see that's a very flexible set. It's also easy to expand, just adding additional hats, additional outfits to them, but then also exploring like a bit more like different niches, different like outfits, etc. Stuff that might not be in every game. So there's room for us to explore.
Basically, we want to have like a lot
So
of flavor.
I'm curious because how will we deal the fact that if we're gonna have a customization with the obviously ragged, looking more ragged and like more experience, how do you plan on doing that for the future?
That's one of the questions we need to solve still. I mean, obviously, it's about, okay, how much flexibility do you give the player versus,
A hat or
yeah. So it's basically, we need to figure some stuff out there, which is one of the reasons why we don't have customization for now. The other is simply time constraints.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what we're exploring, for example, is like, so if you recruit a guy, obviously his like facial attributes, the nose, etc., all of that stuff is kind of set, right? Like you don't customize that. But it means also like we can explore like skin, we can explore tattoos, we can explore all sorts of markings on them, and kind of use that to tell a journey about the progression of them, independent even from the outfits. So it's a lot of room for us to explore. So I think that there's some really cool ideas floating around. We just have to basically make it happen.
I think one thing that we can actually mention in that regard, like what you just mentioned with the tattoos, is, as far as the tier progression being displayed for, the guys you see in the game, you'll also see that when you're playing, because you'll get more and more cool
First
stuff
person hands. Yeah.
on your so tattoos, trinkets, whatever. So you feel like you're playing that badass actually.
And you should.
Oh, that's actually a question. I know because you probably know, this came by in the Discord the other day. If you look down, can you look down and you see your feet or?
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Okay.
You see your body, your feet, etc. Obviously, like it's hard to kind of show you like the connection between the camera and the torso. But if you look down, you see that if you're in a crouch position, you see you like
your legs
dropping on the knee. So that is all there, and it kind of reflects the model you're at.
That's good.
Creating that character.
Yeah,
which
you
is
are
the
that character.
Yes.
Like
Bam.
first person.
Balloon.
I mean, no, I mean, it was a good question, and I actually remember. It's just like,
Yep.
good.
Yep. You're not a floating camera in the world.
No, exactly. That's important. Yeah, I don't know if you guys want to explain more, or if you want to do questions, or.
I think for now, at least from my end, I don't really
Questions.
stress
Yeah,
interest
if
out
Chad
there.
has some more questions, we have a group of questions lined up, but we will take some more questions, especially because we didn't have any gameplay today, sadly, because of the audio issues, because of the capture cards. But we'll just make it up with a good Q&A session.
I have this feeling this won't be the last stream ever. So
No, I mean, we might come back. I mean, we'll take a little break because we have to focus on getting the game ready, obviously. But we will be back with more live streams soon. But let's get to the Q&A. Will it be possible to access endgame gear at low level?
Andreas, you want to take the first one?
Endgame gear lower level, no. This will not be possible because the gear is bound to the Bloodline rank.
Yeah.
So you have to really unlock it step by step to equip it.
And how long? Because you guys explained that you can sometimes recruit a hunter that has a weapon that's already higher.
Yeah.
Assuming, because it obviously goes per tier, let's say you're level 1 and you get a tier 1 hunter, but that's around the max level cap to get to tier 2. Does he gain, how much does that vary of getting a higher weapon?
So you mean for example, if I recruit a hunter that has already a higher level weapon equipped, you can put this weapon off him, but you cannot equip it to another hunter of the same level. You could store this weapon for later, but you really need to unlock the Bloodline rank to buy it and to actually equip it to the hunter.
You have basically this one instance. So if the recruit board like the double barrel shotgun, but the double barrel shotgun is still locked in your shop, you have that one double barrel shotgun. Whoever you give it, that's fine. But if he dies, no more about double barrel shotgun. It's
that
gone.
Also, okay.
And then you would need to either find a new recruit, maybe you're lucky and a new one is offered to you that has, again, such a weapon, or you just need to basically continue grinding towards that level, unlock it, and then from that point on, you can buy as many of them as you want, as long as you have the in-game cash in order to pay for them.
But until then, you use it on that hunter if you want to have it.
You can use it on any of the hunters. Like the gating is primarily on the Bloodline.
Okay. Will you add player titles that can be seen in game based off players' achievements? I mean, I think that's so far the closest would be prestige
The prestige
badges.
system goes live into
Yeah,
this,
because we don't show games names.
Names. No, we don't
No.
show games. Names.
We don't show games.
Names in
as you've seen earlier, yes, we
No.
don't show games. Not today, at least.
No, but yeah. What are the plans for that? So like, how will the badges display? Can other players view the badges?
Yeah, I mean, so prestige is a bragging rights thing, right? Like, so you kind of do that because you get a little medal and you want to kind of like show off a little bit of that one. So obviously there's going to be means in the game by which you can see that, like either when you matchmake, you see that as the guy you matchmake with, like what level is he at, did he prestige before? And also like we see in the summary screen, moving forward, our plan is also at one point to introduce like a telegraph type of system. That's basically if the server has concluded, so the last player has left the server, all bounty is gone, it will kind of send out a report to every player that participated with a bit of more information. We're going to talk a bit more about the details of that one at a later time, but there's also obviously a nice canvas for players to kind of like compare. Because we don't want them to really know during the session, so it's perfectly fine to say like, we keep the mystery during the session, but we kind of reveal it a little bit afterwards. And then you still understand like, I was the best healer that round, or I was like the one that killed the boss and the other team didn't do anything. There's like, you kind of compare. It's just that we don't want to reveal that information during play, but afterwards, perfect, great.
Like a debrief indeed.
Yep.
So how will matchmaking work in terms of matching high and low level players, e.g. high level player played with group with low level? How will the matchmaking balance this?
So right now what we have in mind that we try to match you with players with the same level up to, what was it, rank 10?
Arbitrary number 10.
Yeah, rank 10 or something.
Mm-hmm.
So until this rank you can be, if you rank 1 you can be matched with a rank 10 player. But afterwards it will be totally free. So you can be matched as a rank 1 player with a rank 99 player. if you pass this rank 10 game.
And this is important because, as you know that from other survival games, like there's always that, we've mentioned a couple times, the ghillie suit guy, right? Like the one with the awesome, cool special forces gear, like our tier 3 hunters. You want to see that dude and you want to become that dude when you see him. It's like, I want to be that guy eventually. It gives you something to aspire to. So while we kind of keep you a little bit more like a bit more cushioned, bit more cared for in the early ranks as you kind of go into the game up to like, again, at the moment it's 10, it could be 15, could be 5. That's part of the tuning process to find that out. But once you have crossed that barrier, free for all, you can encounter players of all sorts of ranks. The fact that you cannot have like 6, 7, 8 players gang up on you because the team size is 2 and you have matchmaking, which means it's you don't know who you will be fighting against.
Yeah.
That keeps the whole thing in check. So even if you sometimes find like 2 tier 3 hunters running in the horizon there, they say, do we want to mess with these guys? It's up to you to choose that, but you can encounter them even if you just basically leveled up to the one level above that threshold, that safety net.
Okay, that might be challenging, but that seems good. And obviously, we're gonna have tests anyways. So.
No one said we're making an easy game.
I think it's also like in terms of how the tiers are balanced. I think
it's a very flat balance overall.
Yeah, and it happens technically with like most games where you have duos that there's no balance based on level. Just everyone goes in, even though there's no levels. Will there be a tutorial mission for new players? Well, that kind of answers the question. We don't directly have a tutorial. Is there an idea that we're gonna? Can you say anything?
It's something we talked about. Initially, we will not, but there will be an onboarding system. So basically, there will be enough like pop-ups, etc., that you kind of like have an understanding what you need to do, kind of ease you into the game for the first couple of missions, ranks, etc. As you explore new things you haven't explored before, we kind of let you know what it all means. But it's a very basic tutorial system. There is no plan of like a separate tutorial mission or campaign or anything like that. So I mean, it's a match-based game. It's multiplayer, and we're gonna throw you into the mix very quickly.
What happens if you get disconnected mid-game? Will you be considered dead and lose your stuff?
Only if you disconnect yourself. So if you plug the cable, your hunter will die.
And if your internet goes out?
Then we have a possibility to restore your hunter.
Oh, is that?
So
you know
you
that?
should not get punished for our failures.
Okay.
It's basically if we can detect that, for example, a server has crashed, which of course will never ever happen. But in case it would happen, it's a very theoretical discussion, of course. Then we know that something is wrong on our end. So we have a system in place to make sure that the player is not being punished for it. However, if the player disconnects and we have no reliable way of detecting that he's not just basically trying to get out of a tricky situation by plugging the cable, as Andrea said, well, your character is gone.
And do people have, so for example, your internet pooped and your connection is lost and that's out of your control. Is there a way of reconnecting for at least a moment? Or
we have some few safety nets we're considering at the moment, but there is no joy in progress because it's super important. We're a match-based game. Like this is the same reason that we don't allow players to just like connect to a running game because basically they start fresh, all the gear is still there, or maybe the other teams are already depleted. So it's important from our side that everybody starts at the same time. It's part of the match. And then whoever is the lucky guy who gets to the bounty and makes it out alive scores most. The other players kind of like have to see whether they want to risk continuing, if they want to leave early, or if they want to try to take it from them.
Okay. I hope that answered the question. Will there be any form of level cap at a point? But well, I mean that's where the prestige starts. Well, you get to max level, I suppose, and then you can decide
so
to.
Right now the max level of the hunter is level 50. And for the Bloodline, it's 100.
Okay. 50 or 15?
50.
5-0.
5-0. Yeah, and then you can just choose to either...
you could retire the hunter, start a new one, or...
And prestige is just for everything.
That's a Bloodline.
Do you... Oh no, yeah, you retire the hunter because then you can get the level up things again. Yes. Do you also get like one reward, like one final reward when you retire them actually? Like, let's say
you get it depends on the level of the hunter.
Yeah.
So for each level there will be some bonus XP that will be transferred to the Bloodline. So the longer you keep the hunter alive and the later you retire him, the more you get out of him.
Okay. How will the game treat players who just want to kill in contrary to people playing objective focused? How's the game design wise? Well,
it's flexible. And that's the beauty of it. So the drive is continue with the mission. Like be on target. Find clues, track the monster down, kill it, or kill whoever holds the bounty, right? Like take it from them. Everything revolves around you getting the flag, the bounty, the token, and bringing it back out alive. However, that said, nothing stops you from, if you want, go and find players and primarily fight it out with them. The consequence is that you will probably not get that much XP. You'll still get XP. We reward you for killing players, but there's no point in going after players, for example, to loot them. That's not possible. The only thing you can loot from a player is the bounty they might hold, if they have any. But in the end, see a different hunter as competition, because he is after the same thing you're after. So if you see and go hunt them, it makes it easier for you to then maybe, after you've killed a couple of them, refocus, go back on the mission basically, and hope that maybe now have an easier time actually finishing.
Then I have a question, and I know this has been asked before. How do we do the reward for people for killing a boss? Like, how big is the incentive of actually killing the boss instead of camping outside and waiting until someone else kills it for you? Do we have any ideas? And like, if we want to give it a big reward enough that it's like actually worth going for the bounty, or
exactly, it's like two rewards, right? It's the kill itself. So if you're the one who dares going in and tries to hunt down the spider in the barn or the cave or wherever it's hiding, obviously you're putting yourself at risk for doing so. You use up ammunition, maybe a couple of like explosives you brought or whatever. Obviously, it might also just kill you, right? But if you do so and you succeed and you kill it, obviously there's a big chunk of XP just for that event. However, that still is less XP than bounty would get you. So in the end, the bounty is the thing everything revolves around. And all the beats of the mission kind of like lead up to the showdown, which is after the monster is dead, fighting over that bounty piece and bringing that home. This is like where the core of the game happens. This is like where we really create like this hotspot. But yes, we do reward you with instant XP, and XP is very important. XP is persistent in this case, right? Like so you bring it out of the mission, even if you die, you get at least some XP on that transfers directly. So even if you die, nothing is really lost. So even if you didn't make it out with a bounty in the end because you got ambushed or like some AI just ran into you and you were not prepared for it, and you die and you lose the bounty, because you went in first and you killed the monster and you basically took that risk, you get already XP for that, and that means you progress faster than all the cowards that were just camping around and waiting for you to do the dirty work.
First, you're cowards. You're the first. Let me see what next. Once your teammates your team managed to extract with the bounty, what happens to the other player's team? Do they just die? No.
So it's basically, we have a certain amount of XP on the map, right? So like depending on the number of monsters we have, the bosses we have, there's like the 2 pieces per boss. If you and your partner in a mission where you fight the boss alone, pick up each piece and you leave the mission, which means there's nothing else to be gained there for anyone who is left around. They get a message that the bounty has left the mission and that they should try to find an exit because basically they are too late. No one is being killed off instantly, anything like that. We basically say that because we have a match-based system, which means the server at one point we want to return into the pool so that another team can go to the server and play as well as we reset it. So we kind of like try to clean house, obviously, at one point, make sure that there's like this one player just sitting in the bush for 10 hours and keeping the server blocked. But that's just the back-end logistics side of it. So we kind of suggest to players, we encourage them to find an exit once the mission is basically run out of loot.
And if not, I suppose if they stay in the bushes too long,
eventually they die. But there's no like there's no escalation like in other games. Like in our game, you choose how much you want to risk. Like it can't be that there's just a single winner. There can be multiple winners. It can be a success for you already to say, you know what? We came late for the party. We didn't get the bounty. They were faster than us. They outsmarted us, outwitted us. But hey, we killed a couple of dudes. We killed a couple of monsters. And our characters are still alive. Let's go for the exit. We still made XP. We keep the characters. And we can try next time. Come back to fight another day.
Is there no more XP gain once the bounty leaves? I mean, I suppose there's still XP gain then, right?
There's XP gain from monsters.
Yeah, exactly. From monsters.
It's just like that. Ideally, you probably also want to go to an exit to try again to have like another like chance to take the bounty in the next mission.
Yeah. So the bounty has the highest value of XP. But you can still run around and shoot AI to collect some XP if the bounty is still out of the mission.
Makes sense. What happens when all your 500s are killed and you don't have money?
Aha.
Yeah, we have a solution for that already. So in case this happens, the system checks first if you have any equipment in the store left. You could sell and for that earn some money to buy you a new hunter. If this isn't valid, then we will offer you a hunter for free. So we call them we call them tier 0 hunters. And compared to the tier 1 hunters, they will not get the full range of equipment of that tier. So they will only have very limited and cheap equipment. But at least it's a start point. So you won't get lost at all. And if you go into a mission with this hunter and you manage to reach a certain hunter level, we will convert him to a tier 1 hunter.
Okay,
and from that point on, you can use him as a regular hunter. A tier 0 hunter, for example, you cannot strip off their equipment and you cannot sell them. You cannot retire them. And you're only allowed to have one tier 0 hunter at a time.
Interesting. I like that. Good solution. Well, there you have it. What's the... Oh, well, that's actually the exact same question. Will there be weapons capable of inflicting status conditions such as fire and poison?
Yes, most certainly. So we have it right now with obviously like the fire bombs and also like the lanterns you can find in the vault, and you throw them and use them as a makeshift bomb. I mean, they create fire damage, and fire is very, very dangerous in our game because fire has that secondary damage effect that it also kind of burns off your health chunks. So you kind of have charcoaling them, and then eventually they decay. Similar to when you die, as we said before. Every time you die, you lose a health chunk completely. And then if you survive, if your partner picks you up and you make it out, you could use some of your upgrade points to kind of restore them or even maybe buy a bigger one. It's like the flexibility. And the same is true for fire. So fire is very, very dangerous. And it can be that without really dying, you might still be down to your last health chunk just because you got burned a couple of times. So be careful around fire.
Right. That's a question that actually is interesting that Mattcast just asked. Does it mean that a tier hunter can eventually become tier 3? So like if you level up your tier 1 hunter and you get him to max level, does he look like a tier 3 at the end or?
No.
Okay. So you have to still...
Exactly. So at the moment there's no journey of a tier 1 becoming tier 3. That's down to the fact that we say we don't have really customization visually of them at the moment.
Yeah.
But moving forward, it's still something we think about as part of our like whole plan for making sure that we somehow give you a bit more control to kind of like choose how they will look, etc. And a journey, an upgrade journey, is definitely on the table as something you want to explore. Initially, though, it's not going to be.
Yeah, it's bound to like having higher.
They will have better gear. You can equip them with better gear. You can make sure that gameplay-wise, they become a tier 3. It's just that visually they remain the tier 1 until we think about how we want to be able to customize them further.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I assume that most people just want to buy a newer hunter anyways by the time that they're hit a higher new tiers. What's the... You talked about distinguishing players from looks as customization going to affect that. Well, I mean, that's what we already talked about in the beginning. That you still have to think about how you're going to solve that.
Well, distinguishing player levels from looks. I mean, basically, like, we want to represent tiers visually, right? Like, we want to make it clear that, okay, this guy is a tier 3. He probably has better equipment. He has better...
more trades, health, etc.
So he's a bigger threat. So if you see that, you probably, think twice.
It's also like you as a new player, you only have the tier 1 dudes, right? So it's something you really aspire to. Like, you want to be able to get these guys work for your bloodline. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And as such, like if you see someone who is running around the tier 3, at least you know for sure that guy has been playing quite a bit in order to get there from the bloodline progression. If you see someone who is just looking more like a tier 1 dude, it could also be a very experienced player. He might just want to try to fool you, looking like a noob, but that's part of the story.
So once you reach the tier 3 guys, you will not be able to recruit any tier 1 guys. So
from then was the previous one.
So what you could do, for example, you could recruit one tier 1 at the beginning and park him somewhere and use other guys to level up, and then equip this one with.
You can see that Andreas already has a master plan.
He's like, I have all my tier 1 guys parked, just one tier 3 guy, and then in the meantime, he just runs around. Smart. Okay, well, I mean that's good to know because otherwise they probably wouldn't.
You could do this. Yeah.
What incentive is to encourage players to prestige?
It's mostly breaking rights, right? I mean, we basically give you a chance to like do it all over again and again and again. But every time you do, we kind of give you like a little like prestige token thingy. It's a little badge. It's something that just makes you like stand out a little more, so that whoever really wants to do that, and it's a topic not everybody really likes. Some people really they always want these little goals so that they kind of do it just to do it all over again, just because they want that continuous unlock loop basically. For them, this is going to be very appealing, and obviously they get a little bit of like the bragging rights stuff with a little symbol. Other people, they will just maybe just stay at the maximum level and just like, you know what, I have it all, great, I don't want to do it again. Both options are valid, and we just basically with prestige give the players that really like that type of system a chance to do so, but there is no hard gameplay advantage in doing so.
But for example, you could already see if you go to friend, you play with a friend, and will show up, this guy has already done 5 times prestige, you know. Okay, I'm teamed up with a very experienced player.
Yeah, they can see that it's like, this guy is...
Kick-ass.
It's high. I think that was it for the question. I know I can't really see that question because there's a paper in front of it.
No.
If I leave via an exit point while my teammate is down, will they die? Also, will we have a limited amount of time to revive down teammates in the final builds? So that's something, if you leave for the exit point and your teammate is down, I mean, yes, they're dead.
They're dead.
Because they're dead.
Yes. Yep.
They're dead.
But there's no reason why you should do so, because in the end you lose all the cool things they could have brought as well. I mentioned before, if you leave together, you have a co-op extraction. So first off, you extract faster, so that you don't at this vulnerable spot there waiting for that headshot to occur. But also whatever bounty they carried, you get as well. So kind of like if you extract together, you and your partner both get each equipment or an equipment bounty on top, which means you can technically double your score. So I wouldn't leave someone behind because score is good.
Exactly. And, well, the way we revive, it's not going to be an unlimited amount of revives, but currently we have that if you die, you lose a health chunk. So you have multiple health chunks, and if you die, you lose a health chunk. And obviously, eventually you run out of health chunks, so you run out of revives.
Yep.
Because originally you had unlimited revives, but
Yes.
we haven't shown the health chunks one yet.
Yes, it's super important for us to get this fear of loss thing in. And it's also like a bit of normalization between the risk that the single player takes, because obviously he doesn't have a nice partner to pick him up again, and a team of 2. And if there would be infinite amount of revives, basically we take some tension off, because the only time that team can fail is both of them are down. And now it is still more safe than going in alone, because you have someone you can watch your back, but it's a limited amount of times. And this is again where the health chunks kind of matter, because since you always lose a health chunk, you can just upgrade your guy so that he has very many smaller health chunks. It gives you more revive options, but it puts you at a disadvantage obviously during the mission, because it's easier to like lose an entire chunk just depleted from health by just getting like an attack from like a couple grunts slashing at you, and then you need like a med pack etc to top it up again. So it comes down to like weighing your options a little bit, whether you want to be more resilient against attacks or if you want to have more tries.
Yeah. So yeah, no. Oh, he said if you had it's not about a limited amount of revives, but a limited time.
Now the time is infinite from our side.
Yeah.
At the moment we have that. We're still obviously crunching the numbers, right? But what we found out is that with this very strong drive of the mission objective, so like the purpose to get to the boss, and there basically being this continuous pressure, like how far are the other teams? Are they maybe already there? Maybe should we hurry? Should we not? Like it. You will see rarely that players are camping corpses, because first off, only if you see the partner will you know that there might be a second player around. The bodies remain. So if you kill just a single guy who was there alone, the body doesn't appear. The body still remains on that spot for the duration of that mission. So you might be camping someone who's already in the next session because he's disconnected a long time ago. You're like, oh, his partner might come any second. I'm going to get him too. Might be that you just camped the solo guy.
And if you get out and you lost a health chunk, do you regain this automatically when you get out of the match, or do you have to?
That's where the upgrade points come in.
So as long as the chunk is not burned or took away by death, you can regenerate it by using a bandage.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as it's lost completely, you have to replace it with a hunter, with an upgrade point after the mission is over.
And you get those from leveling up your hunters.
Exactly.
Yes.
And as we said before, like if you play your average mission, you will not just make one level. You will make multiple levels, which means every time you do a level, you get an upgrade point. So you should every time you come out of a mission have a pool of like 3 to 10 depending on the balancing of these points
Is
available.
levels go faster the lower level, or is it every level is the same?
At the moment, it's linear, but we're still exploring a little bit the pacing between
Yeah.
them. So again, this is something which maybe we can reinforce a little bit from what we said initially. So we've been focusing very much on the actual gameplay sessions, or what happens during a mission at the moment, because this is what we want to get right first. And now we're starting to get into the details of the meta game. So like this whole process is very functional at the moment, but it also is great because it gives us a lot of flexibility still, like to tune numbers and change things and just like see how the game plays out, and on average how many monsters you kill, how many points you take out, and it gives us a chance to kind of tune this progression very nicely. So it's a very enjoyable experience.
Awesome. I think that was it for the questions right now.
Mhm.
Don't think we have.
Cool.
Oh, there was one. I believe I saw someone ask what is the max prestige level, but like at the moment, yeah, we
We
can
don't know,
up that technically forever.
Maybe we are cruel and we give you infinite prestige.
Yeah, you could just go on forever.
We don't know yet. At the moment, I think we have a limit of 50 or 100 also. This is just the numbers we play with. And again,
like that
in
should
the end, all comes down to how the balancing works out and what we feel is right, and how many little prestige icons we can produce for you to always feel unique when you have a new one.
Awesome. I think this is it for now. Once again, I'm really sorry about that the audio messed up, because
Next time. Next time.
But yeah, we don't have a stream next week. We're gonna go on a break for a little while because we have to focus on the getting you guys the game, because we've been asked 50 million times already right now, when is the alpha, when is the alpha, when is the alpha, and it's because we're streaming for you guys and it takes up their time. So we'll be back with more content later. We don't know when exactly yet, but we'll still post stuff in YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and everything, so you'll definitely still see people at work, but just a little live stream, but more live streams later.
Yeah. With more daytime.
More daytime.
Hopefully.
More daytime. There's going to be lots of daytime. There's going to be infinite amount of daytime. But yeah, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you got more information. The VOD will be up after this and on YouTube later, probably tomorrow. So yeah, once again, excuse this for the sound, but we'll be back. And I hope to see you guys soon. So
Great. Take
have a
care.
good night.
Bye.
Bye.